This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a film featuring two horror film icons who made over 20 films together in a story that's been told many, many times. Now, I had low expectations for this one, but, well, let's check it out. Today's film is I, Monster from 1971, either 75 minutes or 81 minutes long. More about that later on. And this one's in color. This takes place in 19th century London. A psychologist is experimenting with a new drug that enables people to release their inhibitions. Now, as I'm watching the opening credits, it says story by Robert Louis Stevenson, but it didn't really register with me until pretty soon into the film I realized this is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now that story's been told many, many times on film. 1931, the version with Frederick March. 1941 with Spencer Tracy. 1971, there was a version called Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. That's a Hammer film, which I actually like. And let's not forget 1963, The Nutty Professor with Jerry Lewis, probably his best film. And that was a riff on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as well. Now, Milton Subotsky wrote the screenplay here. I've seen his name on a lot of films. He wrote the films Tales from the Crypt and Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Mostly he was a producer, producing films like Torture Garden and The House of Drip Blood and Asylum. So a lot of those horror anthology films. This is an Amicus production. They sort of competed with Hammer films, and they're similar in their setting, Victorian England, many times. The visual style, the subject matter, of course, and the atmosphere. Stephen Weeks directed I, Monster. He was only 23 years old when he directed this film, and it was his first feature film. Christopher Lee is excellent as the Jekyll Hyde character. They actually used different character names in this film. It must have been some sort of legal reason, I'm assuming. Peter Cushing plays his friend. He's good as always as well. Those two guys made over 20 films together. This one falls in between Horror Express and The House of Drip Blood. Both of those I think are better than this one. This one starts a little bit slowly. We got a lot of older guys sitting around their club, smoking pipes and pontificating about the nature of man. Was man born good and became evil? Was he evil to begin with and has to fight against it? And then there's a lot of talk about the Christopher Lee character who is collaborating or studying under Freud. And there's some discussion of Freud's theories and the id, superego, and the ego. But it does pick up the pace pretty quickly as Christopher Lee begins experimenting with this drug. Now, he injects the drug into his arm, but interestingly, they never really show him doing that. They show in various ways that he's shooting into his arm. He'll roll his sleeve up, take out the needle. They might show a shadow on the wall of him doing it, or maybe his facial expression changes. So possibly the production code or some reason they didn't want to show him injecting that into his arm every time. And it's done about 8 times or so in the film. There are 2 or 3 really good set pieces here, and Lee's makeup changes gradually as he becomes this Mr. Hyde character, and it's really fun to watch, and I'm not going to reveal what it looks like or anything because that's part of the fun. So my rating for I, Monster, I'm going to give this one 3.5 top hats out of 5. Top hats because that's what the Mr. Hyde character wears on his head. Lee is the main reason to see this. If you're a fan of his, I think it's a no-brainer. You're going to want to see this one. It's especially fun to see him walking around all 6 foot 5 inches of Christopher Lee as he's towering above everybody else, especially in one of the best set pieces, which takes place in a saloon. What's on this disc? This is an indicator disc. It is region B, so be aware of that. And this is the standard edition, unfortunately, so there's no booklet. I wish it had one. I don't know if the limited edition is even available anymore. The picture quality here was okay, I thought. It's not a real sharp picture. It can be pretty grainy in a lot of spots, but once I watched the trailer, which is included in this disc, that looks terrible. The color's way off. There's all kinds of scratches. So I assume this is the best the film's going to look. There are various extras on here. There are two versions of the film. There's a 75-minute theatrical cut and an 81-minute extended cut. That's the one I watched. I don't know what's involved in those 6 minutes. I'm going to assume something either sexual or violent or gory, something like that. There's an audio commentary, which I did not listen to. There are various audio interviews and video interviews, some new, some old, with the editor, the producer, director, and the composer. Where can you see iMonster? I don't see it streaming anywhere, so you would have to buy or rent this one. And feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below. Have you seen this one, or have you seen any other Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing films that have kind of flown under the radar like iMonster has? Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Our goal is still getting toward 1,500 subscribers. We have a couple hundred still to go, so that's what we're striving for. But subscribing is free. Also free is we're on the Letterboxd app under the Kazdoy Closet. There's a link down below in the show notes. That's where we leave brief written reviews of other things we're watching that we don't talk about here. Most recently, we watched Dream Scenario, Harakiri, Satanic Hispanics, A Quiet Place to Kill. That's part of that Lindsay Baker box set from Severin. And also Fear and Desire, the Stanley Kubrick's first film. So feel free to check those out. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. See you next time.